Hello guys, welcome back to another episode of the Wumi Bella Show. So today I actually want to start off reading you a tweet because I saw this tweet 8 months ago and it is exactly why we are here today about to have this episode we're about to have. The tweet reads, "Can't believe it's been a month of motherhood already and I love it so much. I definitely plan on talking about the benefits of doing it a bit older. I think it's an important conversation to have." Now, I'm 27, 2030 is like around the corner, right? And I've always been someone who's been like, I probably see myself having kids in my later years. Reading this tweet felt like validation was like wrapped around my brain. And I was like, I need this woman on my sofa immediately. So I messaged her and I said, ma'am, please come and sit down so we can have this conversation. And we are finally doing it today. Today, I've got the amazing Audrey, aka Miss Ghana's finest in the building. We're about to talk about motherhood. She recently became a mum. Today, we are going to be dissecting why that was a beautiful decision for her, because I think there's so many women now who are craving to have kids in their later years and not rush it so much. And that is something that I really, really do stand on. So let's get into this conversation today. No, we've been wanting to do this for
ages.
How long ago did I message you?
It's been a minute.
That was like 8 months ago.
Yeah, literally.
Was it 8 months ago? Or?
Yeah.
Because I think at that point your daughter was like one month old.
Yeah, early doors. Yeah,
Jesus
ages
Christ.
ago.
Well, we're finally here.
Yeah, we're finally here.
But before we move into the conversation, like properly, I have a fashion segment that I already told you about. So we're gonna just like break down what we're wearing.
Okay.
And I think this time I want you to go first.
Okay.
You show me the ropes. Tell me what you're wearing, why you're wearing it, what's going on.
Okay,
Bum, bum, bum.
Sure. So I'm wearing these like denim combat jeans.
Yeah.
They're from ASOS. They're just like my go-to jean now.
Yeah.
Like they're so comfortable. I feel like they fit great, look great. Black vest top from Zara.
Yeah.
And then on the feet, I'm wearing red bottoms, the Vuittons. And then I've just got this random headband on. I don't know where it's from, but I just thought I'd try a ting today.
That's cute.
And then these
I thought it was attached to the hair.
No, oh no, hon, it's not one of those ones. But I've seen those wigs that are attached to headbands.
Sick.
Yeah, they're very convenient. No, this is not one of them. This comes off. And then these earrings are from Primark.
I love it. So what's the vibe? Like, how would you describe this overall?
Laid back, chic. I wanted to be dressed up, but I had to be comfortable at the same time. I had a whole different outfit in mind for you, but when I found out I had to bring a Naya last minute, I couldn't wear it because it's all white. And now I'm a mum. I can't wear white when I've got the baby.
Yeah.
I was going to wear anyway, we won't describe it. But this is just laid back chic,
It's
casual.
cute.
Thank you.
It's like casual Audrey, but like looking good.
Exactly.
I love that. Okay, so me, how do I describe this? I mean, it's like a cute, or maybe the vibe I was going for. To be fair, it wasn't actually me. It was actually my stylist that comes up with everything. Initially, I wanted to wear like a red dress, but I think this one is very me.
It is very
It's very, which is mad because I'm like, everybody else said that as well. Like, I don't know why.
Your style's just really, really evolved. Like, it's dope. I love it.
Thank
Yeah, I love
you.
like how you do oversized.
I love
It
oversized
looks
so
it looks
much.
dope. But you still make it sexy.
I don't know how I do it.
I don't know how
how I do it. But I actually feel more comfortable when I'm wearing oversized things.
Same.
One of my girls said to me, like, babe, like, you used to wear such a mini skirt, and now all I do is like baggy skirts with rips and baggy jumpers, baggy. I think also my man has a part to play in it. So
Okay, so like modest chic.
nah, he's a designer.
So he's a fashion babe.
Man.
Okay,
He's a fashion man, and he's like really into his like oversized fits, and I just like his clothes. So a lot of the time I just like steal
borrow
his
stuff
clothes
as well.
Like,
Love that.
So that's probably another reason why my fashion is like evolving. But okay, cool. All right, let's get into things. Right. So when I messaged you, I was obviously like, I think at that point when I saw the tweet and why it triggered me so much, because obviously I'm 27 and 30, chapter 30 is like right next door. It's like knocking at my doors. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And honestly, I've always been kind of felt conflicted when it comes to like having kids.
Yeah.
Right. And I've always been like, I know that I'm someone who would probably, if I do have kids, would have kids later on in my life.
Got it. Yeah.
Right. And so when I saw your tweet and then I saw all the rest of the girls who were replying to it, etc., I was like, I need to have this conversation with her because this is so relatable that there's so many women, especially now, like so many of us are kind of going the opposite route to what we're accustomed to doing, and you know, kind of being a mother isn't something that's like at our forefront.
Yeah,
you know. So I kind of want to go back a little bit, go back to your journey, even before you became a mum. So like going all the way back, and how you kind of felt about motherhood before you became a mother.
Yeah. Do you know what I had to do a lot of like self-work actually about my relationship with motherhood because I grew up in an African household, right?
Yeah.
So naturally, it's not even up for debate. You know, it's just this trajectory of your life that you're supposed to follow. Like, you go to uni, you get married and you
Yeah.
have kids. And it was never ever like up for debate. It was never questioned. And obviously like now with social media and stuff like that, you hear more conversations about women that have chosen to be child free. And so it's a lot more in the forefront. And so for me, I really like had to interrogate whether this is something I actually wanted or whether it was conditioning, because I couldn't actually tell the difference, you know, and I couldn't tell if the desire that I felt I had was actually a desire or whether it was like due to pressure and conditioning. So when my husband and I separated, I used that time to really think about what I wanted, because my life was so different at the time. And I really was just like doing me, you know, I didn't really have the responsibilities of like a marriage, and obviously didn't have a child at the time. So I was like, could you see yourself living this life? Like, you know, child free, just coming and going as you please, like doing what you want with your career. So I really used that time to actually sit down and really self-actualize and think about whether I wanted it. And at the end of it, I realized I still wanted it.
So what was because that's interesting. And I think that's probably what a lot of us are doing. I know I do that where before I got with my man, actually during the period where like I was single, it was always like, do I want this? What is the process of like even asking or figuring out, do I actually want a child? What did that look like for you?
Well, for me, I always asked myself, like, how would I feel? Like, would I go to every length possible? If I decided that it was something I wanted, what lengths would I go to? And that was kind of like my metrics. Because I was like, if I got back, well, actually, let me go back. First of all, I was like, is this even going to be a possibility for me? Because during the separation, I was 35, I think. So now you hear that number 35 and it's like the buzzword number that everybody uses when it comes to like talking fertility and like, you know, technically they count it as a geriatric pregnancy if you're 35, you know, and over. And so that's where I started. I was like, let me even find out if this is a possibility for me. And so I just know what my options are, you know, whether I decide that actually I'll be cool with it or decide whether it's something I really wanted. And I think that I asked myself that. I was like, do you know what? If you get these results back, and you get the absolute worst news possible, would you go to every single length possible to be a mum? And I figured that if I would, then that kind of gave me a rough guideline as to how much I wanted it. And if it was something that I'd be willing to accept, then maybe I could live without it, you know? So that was one of the things. So it was actually like, you know, a lot of thought, but also a lot of action, you know, because sometimes you can think these things through, and then really and truly, how much of it are you, how much time are you actually spending really genuinely thinking about it and actually putting action behind it? So for me, it was about going and actually doing the fertility MOT, which by the way, I put off for so long.
How long
because I want to say like a year. Like I had the idea of doing it. I knew where I needed to go, but actually calling up and making the appointment was like a whole different thing. By the time I actually got around to doing it and going, was like honestly a year. It took me to actually get my ass down there. So I did that, and then I kind of took it from there really. And I was like, by the end of that whole process, and as my husband and I were figuring things out, I was like, no, I actually really want this. I actually do really want this.
So I'm interested, right? I'm just thinking about, okay, so you're 35 at that time when you and your partner are separated, and you're like, do I actually want this thing? When you guys were together before that separation, was that a conversation between you guys? Like, it was like, you know what, we don't really want this. We're not sure about this. What was that like?
No, it was never not an option. We always discussed it. It was something that we decided early doors that it was going to happen. It was just a matter of more so when, but it was never up for debate whether it was going to happen whilst we were like together at the time. The questioning more so came during the separation, because I just wanted to use that time wisely. I just didn't want to question things when we got back together, because otherwise what was the time apart for really? But yeah, up until that point it wasn't even up for debate, and I'd never given it a second thought because I was married. That's just what you do. Do you know what I mean? You get married and you have a baby. So I'd never ever given it any thought about whether like it wasn't an option. I mean, obviously you have the conversation about what does it look like if it doesn't happen for us. We'd had that conversation, but at the time it was very much like, no, we'll do whatever it takes. Like, you know, we'll go to all the lengths possible to make this a reality.
I'm just wondering, because like, you know, like we were saying, it comes a certain point where, you know, our parents, like, I know till this day, my mum will be like, so how's your boyfriend doing? Like insinuating like, when are you gonna get married? When are you gonna have kids? And I wonder, you were talking about obviously you're Ghanaian. your parents, how they felt. If you're 35, you don't have children yet, you're married, you're trying to figure it out. What was that conversation like?
Oh my God, it was so tricky. And in fact, I feel like it was really like, it was quite toxic between my mum and I, because the pressure, and I love my mum, she's the best, like I love her, but there was just that one niggling thing in our relationship that was annoying to me, because as far as she was concerned, exactly everything you said, you're married, you know, you're getting to a certain age in your life now, why is this not happening, why is this not a thing? And honestly, it put such a strain on our relationship. I remember there were times where I would like literally avoid my mum's calls, because she would always like find a way to angle it in there and get it in. And I was just like, you know, we'd be talking about whatever, we'd be talking about normal things. And then she will find the maddest in. I'm like, how did we even get here? Like, how did we get here? We're talking about, I don't know, growing plants. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it's just like, when are you going to grow a baby? I'm like, oh my God, like, how did we get here? Like, my mum would find the maddest way. Or she would do this thing where she would bring it up right at the end of the conversation and hang up the phone. And I remember one time I had to check her and just be like, listen, I don't want to talk about this anymore. If and when it happens, you'll be the first to know. But as of now, it's not a possibility. And it was a really like heavy conversation. I had to really tell her, like, you know, this is going to affect our relationship if we don't stop. And she stopped for a while, and I could tell, like, oh God, I could tell it was so hard for her not to bring it up, but she had to just respect what I had to say.
Do you mind me asking, why wasn't it a possibility at that time? Was it more of a...
Yeah, because I was separated. Yeah, that was during... But even before then, the pressure, when you get married, you get all this pressure to get married. And then when you get married, there's all this pressure to have a baby.
Immediately.
So, like literally immediately. So I was like a newlywed of like a week, and the questions had started already. Like, when's the baby coming? Blah, blah, blah. And for the longest while, my answer was, it's in God's hands, because I feel like no one can argue with God, you know? But yeah, it was just a constant thing, like constant, but it was lighthearted, you know? And then it started to get heavier. And then obviously when I was separated, I felt like my mum was just so stressed out, because this is probably for her the worst time for me to separate, because I am 35 and she's a midwife as well. So
she's looking at all
everything.
So she sees everything full.
Exactly. So she's got a 360-degree scope of like this whole fertility thing. Yeah. And so yeah, it was just a mad time.
As you're speaking, right, I'm thinking you and your partner separated, and then you guys got back together, and then now you're having a baby. I think there's like so many layers as to why, like, she wants to sit right here.
Yeah, she's here and making her presence very
honestly
known.
I don't know if you saw my episode with Monica, and we had her daughter in the middle.
Yeah, I know.
No one here was there. Frosty, you was there when we filmed Monica's episode.
Mate, I can imagine.
Her daughter, no, she was fighting everybody.
Honestly, these kids, don't let an eye on this set, man. She'll tear it up.
Tell her to pull up. Right, so I low-key forgot elements of the show, to be fair, because I was like I said, I've been begging for this conversation for like 8 months. So in my mind, I'm just like, let's just get straight into it, because clearly I just want answers. But I always like to get really, really comfortable whenever I have a guest on. So these are for you.
It's really
cute, isn't it?
These are so cute. Yeah, I love so socks. Many. Did you know that I love socks?
Do you? No, I don't.
Like, I'm obsessed with socks. Like, I sleep with them.
You sleep with socks?
Yeah, even in the summer. Like,
in summer?
Same.
Jesus.
Even if I go Ghana. It doesn't matter where I am.
Nah.
I have
in Ghana, in the heat.
I can't sleep without socks.
Right. We're going to take things back just by, a couple secs, because I forgot a lot of things.
Thanks
my
bad.
Babe. You're welcome. All right, so what we're going to do basically, so usually I play a game of this or that, but kind of remixing it.
Okay.
Obviously, I'm here with a mother, which means you have some sixth sense when it comes to maybe seeing someone and being like, oh, she might be a mother too, or this looks like this person. Okay. So basically, my producer's going to show us a bunch of pictures, and we have to guess who we're looking at.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be some celebrities. It's celebrities, right? Okay. I saw one name earlier, so, You changed it! Wizard.
Not throwing a spanner in the works, honey.
Wizard. Let's go. Yeah.
I can see this.
Who is Ja Rule?
No, that looks like...
Are we a team or are we against each other?
Oh, yeah.
We're not a team. Crazy.
Oh my God, that looks like... I feel like you might even be a team.
Yeah, no, because I have no... This is easy. Who is that? Yeah, one clue.
Davido. Sheesh. I was going to say Young Jock.
Good.
Oh my God.
Where are you finding these pictures?
Is that Tiwa Savage?
Is that Tiwa Savage? Is that actually her?
Yeah.
Oh boy, I'm... Damn.
Oh, Rihanna.
Beyonce, Rihanna.
Rihanna.
You really do have the mum sense, by the way. That's what's leading all of this. Please let me guess this. Kelly Rowland? But to be honest, I actually can't see her face, so let me move.
Yeah, I can't see.
Let me bring it so you can see it. Okay, here we are.
Oh, Adele.
Woo! Is that the last one? Oh, one more. Please let me try to do this one first. Prince. Please, Audrey, let me just start with this one. Clue, just a clue.
Was in a boy band. Justin Timberlake. Wow. I was gonna say Justin anyway.
Oh, shit. Oh. As in, I said he was in McFly? What? No, I'm being so dead serious. What boy band was he in? What's the name?
NSYNC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, you're definitely a mother. All right, cool. So wow. All right. So yeah, I can't remember exactly where I left off, but basically I was going to ask, I don't know if you've spoken about this. I don't think you did. I don't know if you mind me asking just about like your separation time. How, I'm wondering, right? Because I can imagine when you separate from someone and you get back together, I feel like you both would have grown separately. Like you said, you kind of went through like your own journey of, you know, understanding like, do I want this? Do I want that? And I'm sure he went through his own journey, whether it was about that or it was about other things. There was like an element of growth somewhere.
Yeah, definitely.
And I feel like when you come back together, the spark feels like a lot more intense. And it's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wonder how, firstly, the separation season, how that was for you and how it affects the way you guys are raising your daughter.
That's a really good question. It was tricky because it was in COVID. And I feel like a lot of people really went through some things like during that time because you're in each other's faces 24/7, which is not normal.
Yeah.
Like before then, like everyone goes to work, you have your time apart,
Yeah.
you know, you don't actually spend that much time together alone in the house. And I feel like it just heightened everything. So yeah, it was tricky, man. It was horrible. It was not nice. Like obviously being stuck in the house and not being able to go anywhere. And then on top of it, dealing with this really big, like emotional battle was horrible. But in terms of like how that's like helped benefit our relationship when it comes to raising Anaya, I feel like now we're both like, when we got back together, we were like, yeah, we're in this now. But now we've got even more reason to like fight and just go harder. And I'm not even like of the belief that you stay for the kids. I really don't agree with that. I feel like if you can be two happier individuals apart, then that's always going to be the better option. But I feel like where we've decided to like really give our marriage a shot, it only benefits her really, because we're learning to put our marriage first now, you know. Obviously she comes first, but we're really centering our marriage at the same time.
But I even feel like, even before you corrected that, I feel like that's a conversation I hear so much, that the only way or the best way to kind of, you know, have the best family foundation is by putting your relationship first,
definitely.
and ensuring that that is number. The kids will definitely come second.
Yeah, because all of that stuff trickles down to them. Like if mum and dad are happy and they have a solid union, it only benefits the child, you know, in the long run. So I'm really, really big on that. And so I think because now we've both got this new lease of life and this new determination to really make it work, it really impacts how we raise her, you know. Obviously she's a massive blessing on her own. But yeah, I just think we're both really just going hard now. And that's nice.
I wanted to talk about the first month of motherhood, because that's what you first tweeted about when you were talking about, you know, it's been amazing, it's been the best thing, and there was such a nice glow in your face. So many things here, right? Because I remember watching your stories all the time after you gave birth, right? And I think it was like a month or two in, like you were online, you were having a good time, like you were still doing your thing. And with a lot of the, maybe some of the mothers around me who especially are my age, and I think of I want to say maybe 2 or 3 of the parents I know, a lot of it wasn't necessarily like planned, and it just kind of happened. And you know, regardless, kids are a blessing, but it still definitely like affected their lives, right? I don't know, maybe if there's a difference, and you might be able to let me know if there's a difference when in how you react to motherhood when your child is planned and when it isn't planned.
Yeah, I can imagine I can imagine there must be a massive difference. Like Anaya was very much planned. You know, we went into this knowing that we're ready to be parents now. So of course there's a certain level of stability. I mean, I'm incredibly privileged because of what I do. So it's not as if like I had to think about going to an office and stuff like that, you know. Obviously I still do the podcast and I still work, but I'm only record 1 day a week, and there's so many things I've been able to put in place to enable us to basically have like the best best life possible. So let's just start with that. Like, you know, I understand that not everybody's in that position, and I think all of those things play a massive part in like how you parent, you know, and your ability to parent. Money, like obviously we talk about the cosy lives, that is real, honey. Like, you know, it's no joke.
I have a whole set of questions on that one.
Honestly,
it's crazy.
It's a lot. It's a lot, and like, yeah, parenting is it's expensive and it's time consuming, but yeah, I can only speak from the planned perspective because that's my experience.
Yeah.
If I had another child that was unplanned and I had a Naya which was planned, I'd probably be able to give a better answer.
Yeah.
But my experience has been, I feel like it's been really positive.
Yeah.
You know, planning it because, you know, hopefully if it happens for you, you know, you've got things set in place. Like I already had like childcare put in place. Like even before she was conceived, I'd say to my mum, you know, obviously at one point I'm going to go back to recording, and what does that look like? And my mum was like, I'll come and have, you know, I'll come and have the baby and all of that. So we had these things put in place, you know, which is nice.
How was that first month for you? I want like a full look or full scope of that first month, because you were so happy.
I was so happy, man. Like the thing with me is I really wanted to be a mum so badly. Like anybody who knows me knows, like I was so like almost to the point of desperation. Like I was really ready. And so when it finally happened, I was just so grateful. And so for me, every single part of it, the good, the bad, and the ugly, I've just lapped it up. Like even when she pukes on me, even when she's like crying at 3 a.m, I'm like, oh, you know, and I've tried to like turn everything into a positive. But the first month was insane because people talk about lack of sleep and stuff, and I used to think people are exaggerating. And I'm not really a big sleeper. Like I'm the kind of person like I can get by on 5-6 hours. Like I don't need to sleep for like 12 hours.
That's me.
And
what time do you wake up?
It really depends. Like 8:30. You know, them sort of times. So I was like, oh, I'll be fine, you know, I'll figure it out. But no, that lack of sleep thing is no joke, especially in the early stages when they're newborns. Oh my God, that was really tricky. So apart from the lack of sleep, everything else, I just really embraced it, you know. And I know that I'm speaking from a very privileged position, you know, and I know it's not like that for everybody, but I feel really grateful that it was like that for me. Like I loved it.
Okay, yeah. I saw a video, a girl, it was two videos actually. It was on TikTok. It was one woman who was just like, oh my gosh, like having children in your late 30s, like there's so many like, what did she say in the video? Like there were so many like bad aspects to it. And then there was another woman who what's that thing on TikTok when you
stitch?
Who stitched the video and was like, you know, you have it so completely wired wrong. Like she was listing out all the various reasons, and I think some of the things that you're saying about the fact that you and your partner, number one, are like in a much more like solid situation. Number two, the fact that like financially, like you're in a much better situation as well. I want to look from your, because those are things I picked up that I'm like 100% like these are the reasons why it's probably not necessarily best for whoever you are to you know, choose to have your children later. What for you would be like the number one, if you're like, you know, these are the various reasons, but for me this is 100% like the reason why I would, if I do this again, I'm so happy I did this at this stage
Still
in
do
my
it
life.
now. Genuinely just feeling like I've got everything out of my system. I don't feel like I've lacked. I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. I don't feel like there's anything I need to experience. I feel like I've really enjoyed my life, and now I'm at a place where I'm ready to be a full-time mum. You know, like I'm really, really ready, and I still work and stuff like that, and I still do loads of stuff outside the podcast. So maybe I'm not really getting that full like stay-at-home mum life, but I'm at home with her most of the time. But yeah, genuinely having no regrets about what I've done in the past and not thinking about things I could have done. You know, I went to uni, I've had every job under the sun. I've worked in corporate, I've worked in media. I'm now doing something that's more like passion led. I've been on all the girls' holidays, I've been on the vacations, I've been on the, you know, I've done all of that stuff. Like I just feel happy that I can just give all my time and all my attention, and I'm in a position now where I can say, no, actually, you know, my daughter comes first. Like I don't have to do anything that I don't want to do, you know?
Because you kind of like been through it. You've kind of done like all the exciting, all the seemingly like exciting things that you might have wanted to do.
Like I can miss out on a few girls' trips and stuff like that now because I've had those experiences. So I just, for me personally, and obviously everybody's different, but for me, I wouldn't have it any other way. Yeah.
It's interesting because when we initially was talking, I was going to talk about the fact that like on your stories, like you were out, you were active, like quite early on, not early on, but you just was living your life. And one thing I always find myself talking about with my friends, how much like motherhood can sometimes maybe change your identity, or like you find yourself in a little bit of a position where you're like, oh, can I do this stuff now? Can I not do this stuff now? Or I can imagine I would be someone like that where I'm like, oh, okay, I'm now a mother.
Yeah.
Do I want to go out as much, or do I But then I equally want to fight myself and be like, nah, I need to be me in order for me to be the best mother for this child. 100%. You know what I mean? Otherwise, I'll be looking at her like, ma'am, you stole my youth,
you stole my life,
and I don't want that. So how was it for you when it comes to like the identity side of things and being able to look at your daughter and be like, you know, I'm still Audrey, baby. I love you.
Do you know what? That's one of the things I feel like I've done really well and I've really adapted to. And do you know what? It's not, the other way is not wrong, because I know people that become fully immersed in motherhood and maybe to the point where they are a little bit unrecognizable to me, but ultimately that doesn't matter. Like, that's not what's important. If they are happy and comfortable in that space, then so be it. For me, I always knew early on that the child was coming into my life, you know, and I was going to find ways to incorporate motherhood into just who I am, you know. And I feel like I have done that really. And I had a feeling like, you know, obviously labor and, you know, good health and all of that stuff aside, I knew I would be this way. You know. I am someone that I can like adapt to things pretty quickly, and thank God I adapted to motherhood really quickly. You know, not on my own. Obviously, I'm really fortunate. I've got my husband and I've got like a really strong support system. And it might have been completely different if that wasn't my setup. But I knew I would be this way. I knew that I would still be outside. I knew that I wouldn't really lose myself. I knew that I still wanted to do the podcast and still wanted to like have a career. And my baby was just going to come with me. Hence why she's here today. Like, I just take it everywhere with me. Like, if it's physically possible, I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it work. Like, she can come, you know, if I can't get childcare or whatever. So yeah, for me, I didn't want to lose myself completely to motherhood. I wanted motherhood to be like in addition to like all of the amazing things I already am.
And how has it shaped your relationship with your partner? Where has it taken it? Because for you, you're still the same person, but I wonder if like within your relationship it's kind of changed, like the dynamics between you guys a little bit more.
Yeah, it has. It's been really good for us. But again, I think that's because we really both wanted this and we both really felt ready. So having Anaya has been nothing but a blessing, you know, and sometimes to the point where we're like, are we actually really happy, or is it Anaya that's making us happy? Like, we have to check ourselves. And then when we have that conversation, it's time for a cheeky date night. Let's be going, man, because I don't ever want it to solely be about her. You know, going back to what we were saying, I feel like I want us to be solid as well. I want our marriage to be solid. I want our parenthood to be solid. But I think it's really elevated our relationship for the better. It really, really has. And do you know what's mad? I always knew he was going to be an amazing dad. Like, he's got a lot of young nieces and nephews and stuff, so he's been around children a lot. Me, on the other hand, I do not. I had like, you know, a few of my friends had kids and stuff like that, but I hadn't really been like a hands-on aunt or anything. And I didn't have any nieces and nephews. I have a niece now. My sister had a baby. They're 4 weeks apart.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But yeah, so I'd never really been around children. So I knew I really wanted it, but I thought I would struggle a little bit. But I always felt really just safe and secure knowing that I had my husband, because he's amazing. And so in terms of our relationship, it's definitely elevated it, because seeing him in this new role is just everything. Like, seeing how he is with her, honestly, my heart is so full when I see it. And he's a really great partner. Like, it's not like, he's not just like an add-on, you know, he really is like an integral partner. Like, I couldn't do it without him. And I feel like, and that's another reason why I'm able to keep my identity, because I know that she's in safe hands when she's with her dad. Like, I don't have one of those partners where he doesn't know her allergies and he doesn't know her date of birth and he doesn't know where her red book is. Do you know what I mean? It's not like he might know more than me. Like, he's really, really in tune and intuitive when it comes to her. Like, he's invested in how we raise her. And so, so seeing him like this is like, it's amazing. Like, seeing him in his dad era It's everything.
It's so funny you say that because even with me, I remember earlier I was saying that before when I was in my early 20s, like when I was 20, I remember just constantly saying to myself, like, I don't really know if I want kids. And I said that all the way through till I was like 27. I want to say it was probably this year that I kind of started to shift a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, a big part of that definitely is like what you're saying, being with someone who you're like, okay, you're a good enough person. You seem like, you know, you're really, really good with kids. Like he's got children, you're good with kids. Like you're kind, like you know
Yeah.
how to handle this. You make me feel, you know, comfortable and safe enough to feel as if I can be a mother with like such a big shift for
That
me.
is
Because
a
now
big
I'm like,
thing, yeah.
okay, I think I could do one.
Yeah, okay.
I think I could do
That's
a little
okay.
girl. I
Okay.
can handle being
Aw.
a lot later though. I'm
Yeah,
still
yeah. I mean,
thinking,
you've
I
got
feel
so
like,
much time.
honestly,
So much time.
35 to 30 would be the
Yeah.
marking point for
You've
me.
got so much time. I've got so many friends, I've got so many friends that did it later in life, and everyone's happy and thriving. And, you know, I think it's good that you're thinking about these things.
Yeah.
I think it's good to think about it, you know, and just really, again, interrogate yourself and just like ask the questions, but you don't have to make any like solid decisions
Decision
yet.
right now,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely not. You've got bare time.
Especially because like you're 27. I'm thinking, I don't know if you remember like what you were like at 27.
I
I
was
think
a mess.
you're still building. You're still
Yeah,
like trying
yeah,
to
yeah,
figure
yeah,
out
yeah.
yourself. And my fear has always been, imagine bringing a child into this world where I'm still like the center of my world. Like my selfishness level right now is through the roof, and I feel like as it should be
Yeah,
until I kind of
definitely.
find. And I know life is never perfect, but I
Yeah,
think there is definitely a point where you become like a full enough person to be able to bring a child into this world and for
yeah.
it to be you to be like a healthy parent. Because my biggest nightmare, and I think this probably comes from what I've seen like in my upbringing, but my biggest fear is to like bring a child into this world and not be able to give the child
Give
the kind of
everything.
life that you
Yeah.
know they want. And that's not even to do with like financial things. Hello babes. Not to do with, you know, not necessarily like financial matters, but just everything like love, passion, attention, time, all of
Yeah.
that stuff. I'm like,
Yeah, definitely. And it's good that you're thinking about those things because everything that you listed is integral to parenthood. And, you know, at 27, you should be selfish. Like at 27, I was nowhere near as together as you are. I was a
please, this
mess.
togetherness,
Like
people think,
I was just a mess. I was in absolutely no state at that time
how
to
messy are we talking? Because
a
I'm
mess.
a
I mean, I was still with my
mess.
husband, Nick. I was still with
Were you guys
him.
married at that
Yeah,
point?
no, we weren't married. We got married 6 years ago.
Okay.
So we got married at like 31. But I was with him
How
then.
long were you guys together for before you
We've
got
been together
married?
for time. We met in like we've been together since like 2009, 2010,
Wow.
and then we got married in 2018. Yeah, so we were together for a minute before we got married, but we met young. So it's like, um, but yeah, I know I completely agree. I just think this is the time to make mistakes, to restart careers, explore new things, and be messy. I don't think you're supposed to have it all together at any age, really. Like I'm really big on like not attaching age to life milestones and stuff like that because I just think it's so ridiculous. Like you just never know what is around the corner. Some people have their
Yeah.
biggest successes at 45. Do you know what I mean? So if we start to box ourselves, but at the same time, there's nothing wrong with like thinking about it and having a plan. Like
Yeah.
I feel like there's no right or wrong. If you're the kind of person that's super organized and you want to have like all your ducks in a row, then by all means. But if you haven't, it's also okay.
Yeah,
You know?
I'm realizing I'm definitely not the
Yeah.
person who has it like everything streamlined.
Yeah.
Before, yeah, because I always thought that the people who have everything together and are super super organized are the only people who are not necessarily the only people who are able to thrive, but I feel like they just live a better life. I like programmed that
Yeah.
into my mind for ages and always tried to like chase that,
Yeah.
and it just wasn't a thing that came
Yeah, because
naturally to me because
sometimes you're not
I'm not that
living though.
person.
Yeah, I feel like if you're always planning, you're not living in the moment. And I think spontaneity and just like living life with a little bit of chaos
Yeah.
is also beneficial.
When would you say that you became? Because I think as much as we're saying like there's no set age, there's no set anything, but I think there was a period in your life where I know we kind of touched on this earlier, but I think we
Yeah.
were kind of moving really, really fast and I didn't really like dissect things properly. But when do you feel like you became a fuller adult that you were like, you know what, bringing a child into this world makes sense? Was there like a moment that you're like, I think I've got this adulthood down. I'm ready for
Yeah, I
this.
think when I felt financially secure, that was like
Okay.
a big thing for me. And when I felt financially secure enough to know that like if everything was to go tits up, I'd still be okay. I think, you know, because nothing is guaranteed.
Yeah.
You just never know what's around the corner. So I
Yeah.
think that was like a big thing for me, financial security. Um, And yeah, I mean, in terms of my relationship, just also feeling really safe and secure in that as well. But I think when it comes to like parenthood, I think once I'd done that work, as in like really thinking about
Self-work,
it,
yeah.
and that self-work I did during the separation, I really was thinking about it a lot. Like I was writing pros and cons lists. I was thinking about, am I really, this could be your life, like just living
Yeah,
alone, doing my thing,
yeah.
coming and going as I pleased. you know how much do you like this life versus the life that you had before, where you have to consider someone, and you've got a partner, so you can't just come and go as you please. You have to take that person into consideration, and just doing like those checks and balances. Once I came out at the other end of that, then that's when I was like, not only do I genuinely want this, I'm ready, and I think I could pour myself into it and be like the best version that I can be. Far from perfect, obviously,
Yeah.
but the best version at the time.
Well, what's some of those answers? Like, when you're saying you made the pros and cons list, I'm wondering, so when you're asking yourself, like, would I prefer this life versus like the life where would I prefer this life versus the life where I have no kids? Well, what is it? The other way around?
Yeah.
What if I prefer this current life that you're
Yeah,
living
yeah.
or the life where I don't have any kids and it's just me? What were some of your answers or like debates with yourself?
Yeah, well, do you know, it was more just feelings that I had about things. I
Yeah.
was like, this feels nice now, but is it going to feel nice later? That was something that played on my mind quite a bit. And obviously I had the comparison, isn't it? Like I had the experience of like being
In a
married
relationship,
before, so
yeah.
I had that to compare it to.
Yeah.
And I was like, do you know what? It is nice. Wait, and there's no right or wrong, by the way, but it is nice, like coming home and no one's touched my cheesecake. But does that outweigh
Screaming.
having someone that's there
Yeah.
to bounce off of when I
Yeah.
have a question about my career, or even down to dumb things like my car? Like during the separation, I got a car for the first time. I'd had a license for years, but never had a car.
Yeah.
I did not know. I didn't realize how much stuff my husband did until I was by myself. And not that none of this stuff is, it's all learnable. Like you can learn these things, of course, but I was like, oh my God, like
This made my life easier.
this made my life easier,
I need this.
because he's so helpful in so many
Yeah.
different areas. And I'd be like, have all these like big life questions, and I'd be like, oh yeah, no, he's not there. Oh, he's not there. And it was more those things, just realizing that actually the things that I am really happy about at the moment, like, I come home and the house is still spotless, like how I left it.
Yeah.
But is that greater than having a life partner who can hold me accountable? Because I was living my life just for me,
Yeah.
and wasn't really accountable to anybody. But having my husband, and he'd be like, no, go easy, or do this, or don't do that. And I realized that those things were greater.
When I was looking at that tweet and I was reading all the comments, a lot of it were from women who were like 30 and over, etc., just saying how much they feel like this really validates them. And that's the thing, like just being validated that I don't need to like rush this thing. And there was a particular one that stood out to me, so I want to read it out to you. And she was like, yes, please, like have the conversation and talk about this. You've inspired so much. You've inspired me so much. I've been married for 1 year and constantly get asked when am I having a baby? And you've proven to do it when you want and when you're ready, and not letting age define your time for motherhood. And I read that and I was like, that's so beautiful, because recently, like one of the, and I don't know if it's like if it's because of the time that we're living in, how much like women are becoming so much more selfish, and in terms of them accomplishing like, what it is that they desire for themselves, that they're taking like a little bit longer.
Yeah.
That is that something that you're sensing as well? Like obviously you've also said that in your friendship groups, you're seeing like so many other women, your friends are having kids in their 40s and freaking at 25, like we're hearing, have a baby at 25, like, I want to have it all together by 26 and da 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 da. So how are you finding this like shift that feels like it's going on right now?
I love it, man. I love it. And if I can be a part of that, like conversation that helps to just like inspire people or make people feel safe in knowing that like it can still happen for you, then dope. Do you know what I mean? Like what you were saying about people putting this pressure on themselves to have things at 25, 26. I also want to say that's normal, because I was also that person. Like, when you're in your early 20s, in your mind you feel grown. It's only hindsight that allows you to look back and know that actually you're so young. But when you are 23, 24, you feel grown. Like I was exactly the same. I really thought I was going to be like married. I thought 25 was such a big age.
I
thought that was like a big grown woman age. I thought I was going to be to the point where I stayed in like a toxic relationship. So I thought that like I needed to like stay with him, because if I didn't, I would have to start again. These times I'm like 23. And I look back now and I'm like, girl, if you don't. But yeah, I think it is so, I love that. You know, I really love that people are constantly proving it wrong, that there is like an age limit on, you know, fertility and stuff like that. And, you know, I'm not a scientist, so I'm not going to sit here, nor am I a doctor, and speak too heavy on that. All I can say is anecdotally, a lot of the people in my life are, you know, have had flourishing, thriving pregnancies, 35 and over, and are the happiest they've ever been. And not to say that you can't be a young mum and be just as happy. I have got friends that did it really young, and they've got teenage kids now that are like in uni, that are grown, you know, that are passing their driving tests, and they are free, you know. So genuinely, there's pros and cons to both, but I just feel like for women, anything that pertains to us, there's hardly ever any nuance attached to it. There's hardly ever any balance. It's always like, you know, these ideologies that are placed on us to keep us in our place, essentially. And I just feel like the way the world is, it's just always pitting women against each other all the time. And we just have to be careful not to buy into that, because I see it online all the time, like older women that feel like a lot less pressure and feel really relieved that there are older women speaking up about their experiences and that letting them know that actually you do have time. You don't have to, you know, you don't have to rush the decision and getting silenced by other people saying, well, actually, no, you're old and you're this and you're that. And it's constantly like you see the back and forth. All of that stuff is by design, you know, like, and I just feel like people shouldn't fall for the okie doke. Like at the end of the day, like there really is pros and cons to both. But I can only speak from my experience. And if I'd done it younger, I don't think I would be able to give Anaya like what I give her now, like genuinely, because I just wasn't, I didn't know who I was back then. I wasn't ready. You know, I didn't have anything to offer a child at the time. And I knew that, which is why I purposely made sure it didn't happen then. You know, I just knew I wasn't ready. I knew I didn't have what it took to be a good mum. I knew that I was incredibly selfish, as I should have been, you know? So yeah, I love the shift in the conversation, and I love the fact that we're more understanding to women's choices. Ultimately, that's what my feminism looks like. My feminism is all about choice. Like I don't care what you want to do. If you want to stay at home and you want to be a trad wife like Nara Smith, or if you want to be a boss babe and you're going out and you're getting your money and you've decided that maybe the family life isn't for you, like whatever it is you want to do, so long as you're not harming other women, like I could care less.
Just do you.
Yeah, just do you.
And it's so funny because a lot of the time, like we were saying earlier, like a lot of the pressure does come from, you know, your parents saying to you, hey, you know, I don't know what name I was about to drop out there, but whatever, like, you know, when are you having this and da 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 da. And now you're at a point where there was two things that I love, that the fact that you were able to kind of set that boundary with your mum, which ultimately led to a better relationship, and you didn't avoid that, because a lot of us like would avoid that or would just allow it to linger. And I think that's probably something that we should probably speak a little bit more to, like the importance of like setting that boundary. Because I had to do that with my mum. Like I'm very, like she doesn't bring it up as much now, but she might say things like, oh, so how's your boyfriend? Like she'll say that, but she won't ask me.
It's like an into the bigger conversation.
But the bigger conversation doesn't happen anymore. So I remember there was like, I don't know if I was maybe like 24, where she was like, I said, me, kids. Not like I am just not the right daughter for this. Like this just isn't something that's top of mind for me, like at all. And I was very honest with her, and not to even scare her, that was like, I don't even know if I want kids. And that's just the reality of who I am. Like not unfortunately, but maybe to her it might be unfortunate, you know what I mean? But I was like, that might change, I don't know. And when it does, like I'll update you. But so you constantly like asking me this definitely does like pull me away from wanting to, you know, be intimate with you and have discussions with you. So I love that. It took me a while to do it, but like I love the fact that you did that. So I want to kind of touch on that and how that elevated like your relationship with your mum.
I think at that point she knew, like, because I'm the oldest daughter, and there's so much like conversation, and there's so much like think pieces and stuff about the older daughter, like trope and rhetoric and stuff like that. And I really think I genuinely embody every single stereotype of the oldest daughter. Like I've always been a goody two shoes. I've always been someone that's like done what my parents said. I've never like gone astray. I've never been disobedient. I've always just done everything that they expected of me, right? I went to uni, I graduated with good grades, I did well in school, I got married, and you know, I've always, this is like the one time I feel like I've kind of gone off track. This was the first time I'd ever been disobedient. This is
Yeah.
the first time I'd ever just gone against the grain according to my parents' standards. So I know from my mum, she was genuinely like, one, she was concerned because she's like, this is not the daughter that I recognise, and two, that doesn't stop her still having like, you know, her same thought process of like, I really want you to be a mum, you'll regret it if you don't, all of those things.
I think that's one of the things that normally would keep a lot of us stuck, or like feeling like we need to have kids right now because we want to please our parents, because we don't know anything other than pleasing our parents, really truly. So, you know, I know that for me, like the importance of like setting that boundary and like hearing, I want to kind of touch in on that a bit more.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that it definitely like helped my relationship grow with my mum. And I think that was like genuinely the first time she saw me as a grown woman. Because up until that point, I've always done everything by the book. You know, I'm the eldest daughter, and I embody absolutely every single characteristic of the first daughter. Like, you know, I've always just been on the straight and narrow. I've never wanted to let my parents down. I've always been like a good example to my siblings. Like I've always had that in the back of my head. Like I've got like younger siblings. I've never rebelled in any way. So suddenly I'm living this quote unquote perfect life. I went to uni. I got married to a nice guy, you know, all the rest of it. And then suddenly my mum's like, at 35, now you want to disappoint. Like, what the hell? You know, you've had so many years to be a flop, and you choose and now you choose, this is the time you choose to be a flop. But you know, obviously the way their mindset is completely different. And I've always taken that into consideration, and I've always extended grace when it comes to that. But in this moment of my life, I just had to put my foot down. Like I had no choice, because this is just what it was. And even the people pleasing for my parents, even that couldn't get me in check at the time. I just needed to do what I had to do. And now I look back and I've realized that it's only just made all of this sweeter, because now my mum, amongst all that pressure that she put on both me and my sister, more so me because I'm older, she ended up getting 2 granddaughters at the same time. And you know, me and my sister always joke and say, you see, this is why you had to be patient. You know, just be patient. Because my mum, like, it got really heated. Like I remember one time she called me and she was like, I can't take this anymore. And I was like, oh my God, what's happened? Like I literally thought like something had happened. And she was like, I'm the only one at work that's not a grandma. And I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I know that's not true. I know she's exaggerating, but she's like, I'm the only one that's not a grandma. She's like, all my friends have got grandkids. Every weekend they're saying their grandkids are coming over, and I can't. And I was like, listen to yourself.
It's always about their friends.
And I was like,
it's always about the friends.
Like, you sound so ridiculous, because my mum is young. My mum's not even, she's 57. Like, you know, I was like, you're still a young babe. Like, you should be happy that you can just live your life and all your kids are grown. But they're seeing it from a completely different lens. And honestly, now that Anaya's here and my niece Cleo's here, we laugh about all of those times now. You know, we really laugh. And my mum, I know she feels a bit like embarrassed now, because she was so ridiculous at the time. But everything happens the way it's meant to happen. And if I didn't go through all of that, we wouldn't be here now. And like I said, I really believe it makes it so much sweeter. But I had to put the boundary in place.
And I think it's 2 things for me there. It's the number one, like what's on the other side of it, which is where you guys are at now, a better relationship. Your mum has 2 granddaughters and, you know, she's loving it and it's amazing. But then also I'm just thinking about someone who might be watching this and thinking like, listen, my mum is hardcore. Like all these boundaries you lot are talking about, it's not going to work with my mum. So I would love to know, or us, or even you, break down like what it looks like in the first phase. Because I think there's phases. Like you have the first initial conversation. They're like, okay, like adult, like you're talking to you like that. What's going on? Girl. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, calm down. But then you also have like the second part, which is maybe it's a bit rough. Like you guys probably aren't really talking as much because it's a bit odd. And then you have the other side where like things start to unfold and it actually does make sense. So how, like, I'm basically just wondering, like, in that season where it's not as great between you and your mum and you've just established the boundaries and it's starting to set in place, how do you like hold on to that boundary that you've set and not allow yourself to like go back on your words because you're now fearful of, oh, my mum is mad at me? Because I think that's a lot of people's reality. Oh, like, my God. Because the thing is, African parents, like, they can Jedi mind trick
you, man. Do you know what?
So intense.
That is so real, what you just said right there, because I'm that exact person. Like, and it, not even just to my mum, but that translates everybody in my life. Like, I'm really laid back. I'm a really laid back person. And if I check you on something, just know that you really upset me. Like, just know you really upset me. So someone can do me something, or I can put a boundary in place and then I feel guilty after. And so with my mum, that happened, and I nearly went back on my own boundary because I felt guilty after. something that I'm doing for myself, that I need for myself, that I need for our relationship to be stronger and better. Like, because the boundary isn't just for you. Sometimes it is for that person as well, you know, and it can help to just make the relationship stronger. And I was exactly that. I started to feel so bad, and I was like, oh my God, maybe I should just go back and just say it nicer, or, you know, just try and reassure her, or even like get back with my husband prematurely and let me just get pregnant, and let's just, you know, I thought, honestly, every single scenario went through my head, everything other than just being firm. But because it was just not a reality at the time, I actually didn't have a choice. So I was kind of forced into
It down.
yeah, I was just forced into upholding the boundary. I had no choice but to reinforce it, because nothing was going to change regardless. So, you know, I think if the option was there, I might have recanted what I said a little bit, because I can be like a bit weak in that sense. But that middle ground that you're talking about, that whole process is exactly how it goes. Like, you say it, you feel good, feels a bit rocky, and then you come out on the other end. And that middle bit was tricky, because my mum's never going to disown me. I'm never going to disown my mum. But conversations are awkward for a little bit, and sometimes they have to be to get through to the other side.
And I think for me, like, one thing I always think about and I always say is, I would hate to, you know, be a couple years down the line and look at my life and how my life is only a reflection of other people's decisions, or how other people make me feel, rather than like my own.
Exactly.
And I think that into motherhood, like, imagine being the kind of mum that you're looking at your daughter like, listen, the only reason I had you, and the reason I'm doubling down on it, because I think it's such a reality for so
100%.
many of us, that, you know, you're striving for this career, you're striving for this life, but your parents are like, hey, honey, like, wrap it up.
And that resentment always reverses itself and comes back onto you, you know? When you live your life for other people, you're only hurting yourself at the end of the day, and it doesn't benefit anybody. And although, like, setting the tone and putting the boundaries in place feels really hard at the time, like, in the long run, it's better
so
for everybody.
Yeah. I want to just touch on one last topic, because I don't think we double down on it, because I think it's such a reality for, you know, for me, one of the core reasons why I would want to have children, like, later, anyway, just following your steps, you know, for me is just thinking about the financial implications of it. Because in my mind, I'm like, you know, by the time how old am I? By the time I'm 32, you know, things should be together. I should have a better understanding of this and that and this. Financially, things should be in order, which means my ability to, like, give is there, you know what I mean? So I want to talk about that, and because I know not everybody's life looks the same. There are some 23-year-olds who are amazing, and they've got all their ducks in a row by the age of 19. God bless you all, but that's not the vast majority. Do you know
people?
Do you know what I mean? But so if we're thinking about the people who don't have that reality, and it is bastos, and we do know that by the time you get to your 30s, you find your confidence and you start to ease in financially, like, you're in a better space. How has that been a reality in your life?
Yeah, that's my story. Like, I was okay. Like, I wasn't poor, but I don't think I was in a position to give. I wasn't in a position to, like, turn down work, which now I can do, you know, and I get things all the time, and I say no, because the time constraints mean it's going to take time away from Anaya. And right now, because technically I should still be on maternity leave. You know, like, technically, like, if I worked in an office, I'd still be in maternity leave. Because, like, most places give you a year. Like, if I still worked at my old office, I would be off for a year. And obviously, with what I do, it's very up and down. You know, it's seasons, isn't it? Like, you don't know when the next opportunity is coming in. But, like, being able to be like, actually, that doesn't serve me, or those hours don't serve me. I'm not going to be away on, like, a PR trip for 3 days, because that's not where my life is at the moment. You know, it doesn't make sense for me, and be in a position to say no. To me, like, that's what financial stability looks like. Do you know what I mean?
It sounds like freedom.
Yeah, freedom. And I am not rich by any stretch. Please,
she said, "Don't get this twisted, please, everyone. Listen,
I'm not at all. I've just been smart, you know." And so that side of things is really nice. Again, massive privilege. And if I had to go back to an office tomorrow, I absolutely would. Sometimes I miss my office, mum. Like,
are you talking about when you were?
Yeah, when I was a PA. Yeah.
just little story time here. The
Oh
one,
yeah.
oh my gosh,
Yeah.
she sent me basically. There was one time. This is the first time we actually like had a proper
Yeah,
conversation.
yeah.
I wanted to get a PA at the time, and I remember you talk. I don't know if I heard it on a podcast or something, and I was like, I think she might know a lot. And you gave me the maddest
tip.
breakdown.
Yes, I
She
sure
gave me.
did.
You sent me a
And I
document.
sent you a
She
document,
sent me
didn't
a
I? Yeah,
document
I sent you
of
a
like what a
document.
PA needs to do, how to get it
Yeah.
right. Da 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 da. Which
Do you
is
know what, that birthed a business idea that
really what that
that I
conversation.
didn't like follow up on, but it could have been like a really good business idea, and I don't know why I just didn't follow up on it, because
No, you
it
need
was really
to.
good. I was like, I could get into like PA consultancy,
I think you because
and
it's so tricky.
you know, because that stuff never leaves you.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I do miss it sometimes. But yeah, the financial side of things is no joke. Like babies are very, very expensive. Formula is so expensive. Like it honestly makes me sick. Like you go to like, you know, one of the big supermarkets or whatever, and they literally like chain baby formula, and they have it behind the counter with the cigarettes and the medication. And it's just like, I don't know, there's just something really, really immoral to me about that. But yeah, it's no joke. It's very expensive. They grow out of things so quickly. When I had my baby shower, I got so many amazing gifts, and I was like, oh, she's not going to be wearing that for 9 months. That's ages away. Here we are now. She's 9 months. I'm just like, what the hell?
I wanna just like round the conversation off on this point, because I just for women who, and I think this is why this conversation is like so important to me, because like I said, this has become a thing where like a lot of women are becoming so much more selfish and understanding that, you know, there's no age gap, there's no cap. Like you can do, I mean, scientifically there might be a cap that we might not be aware of, so don't take my word for it, but you know what I mean, there's no cap in the sense that you can do it in your 30s. It's fine. For you, I wanted you to just touch on your number one biggest advantage of having kids in your 30s, and what advice you'd give to any younger person who is considering that to be their path, or even someone who might not know, but this conversation has stimulated them to think it might be the right path.
The best part about doing it later is, I feel like now, and I say unpack it. I don't know if it's to do with being later, or if it's just because of who I am.
Yeah.
But like doing it at a time, and for me the time was 37. Really wanting it, because I think that makes a difference. Because there were times when I was younger, where I considered doing it again, going back to what we were saying, for other people, just to shut people up, just so it's done, so it's a tick box exercise, you know. But now I did it because I really wanted to, and just having that holistic kind of picture, like that really nice picture, like, you know, it was little things like taking a test and being excited to pass the news on. Do you know what I mean? Like little things like
the
that,
actual
and
desire.
and not feeling dread of like, oh my god, I have to go tell the dad, and how's he going to react? Not like that was completely eliminated. It was not a thing. I had no anxiety about that. It was pure joy. And it's so funny actually, because I always used to say to Nick, like, the day I find out I'm pregnant, I'm going to do the maddest reveal. The maddest reveal. We're going to go to a restaurant, and they're going to bring the pea stick out on the tray and blah, blah, blah. Babe, when I found out, I couldn't hold water for like 2 seconds. I was like, the test was barely even complete, and I'm on the phone to him telling him I just could not hold water. I was a hot mess. And I was just so happy. So I think all of that stuff comes under the umbrella of like, when you really want something, even down to the pregnancy, because the pregnancy was horrible. And like,
you were saying earlier,
I hated being pregnant. Like, for full transparency, it was not a good experience for me personally. But because I wanted this thing so badly, like now I look back and, you know, it was all worth it in the end. But just really wanting it, and meaning that like you take on everything. And like you absorb every single thing, and you embrace the good, the bad, and the ugly, because you want it so badly. That's like my favorite part of doing it older.
And I think that's the beauty, like that probably for me, that is like the biggest takeaway, because that desire, well, you know, when you hear about, you know, the hardships of motherhood and all the little things that you hear, the good and the bad, sometimes you hear the bad and you're like, but if you have that desire there, the bad doesn't even seem as bad, because you're just like, you this little thing, you're worth it. Like, I'll do this for you.
The late nights and stuff, I was like, I wanted this so badly that even though it's horrible, I'm like, oh, you know, but I really want this. You're worth it, you know? And I don't know that I would have had the level of patience that I have now when I was younger, you know. I think, but when I was young, I just couldn't give a baby what a baby deserves back then, what I feel like I'm giving now.
That's
you know?
amazing,
Yeah.
Audrey. I feel like that is just round of applause, guys. That
Aw.
was amazing and
Thanks,
so helpful.
guys.
But we're not
I
that
hope
we're
so.
not completely done, right?
Ooh,
So
what you got for me, girl?
I have a little segment on my show called the Belly Box.
Okay.
Which is the box behind me over here.
Ooh.
It's really cute, isn't it?
I love the jade green colour.
Thanks. That's the colour of the show.
Oh. Green,
So
money
basically,
green.
huh?
Money green.
Oh, thank you. That's the aim. Amen, please. Like, literally. Okay, so the concept of the Bella Box is basically there's always something in there that is like perfect for my guests. Like, it just
Okay.
makes sense for the current chapter of their life, what
Okay.
they're about, da da da. So with you, you know, we're celebrating motherhood and
Indeed,
you.
indeed.
And after meeting your daughter today, this actually feels like it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
You ready for this?
What's in there, girl?
All right, so cool. Me and my producer were thinking, what makes sense? What makes sense? But then we were like, you know what? Audrey deserves to have a good time. And I know you've got a massive family and a good community around you. But like, you know, one day there might be a day where you're spontaneous and you're like, I just want to leave. And you might need someone. So I thought, let me offer you 48 hours of free babysitting from
Stop it. Wait, this is the best gift ever. I don't have to use it in a block.
No.
So I can call you and be like, can you do 2 hours? And then you deduct it and then, you know,
Wait,
I've
we
got
didn't think about that
46
too,
I've got
Tom. We didn't
46
actually
hours.
consider that. Wait. We'll have to talk about this one.
No, this
but
is sensational.
I know,
Thanks,
it's
babe.
cute, innit? It was my producer. She's great.
Thank
and
you.
we also want to give you this as
Oh
well.
my God.
Just because your body and motherhood, and it's
Thank you
amen.
so much.
Your body and motherhood.
They are
and,
absolutely beautiful. Thank you, guys. Thank you to the whole team. This is such a well-oiled machine over here, man. I've had a great time. But I'm you're not taking you up on this.
No,
I've got your
I'm
number.
obsessed with her.
I'm gonna be messaging you like, okay, can I use you for 6 hours? And then I've got 42 hours left.
I'm down. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like your daughter. She's
a good girl.
She's so easy.
Exactly. She
was like on my. This is her on me, on my shoulder.
She's bare friendly.
Like, she was so cute.
Yeah,
so
she's
cute.
a good girl, man. It'll be a good time.
Yeah, I'm down. Like, just hit me up.
Thank you,
48
guys.
hours,
This
I'm
is
all
beautiful.
yours.
I've
You're
loved
welcome.
it. I'm glad we had the conversation as well.
Me too.
Thanks, everybody.
But call me up. I'll have you babysit.
Oh, thank you,
nice.
guys. I'm actually gonna make you babysit, you know.
I would love to. I love kids.
should.
Like, I don't.